Women's rights have, are, and will continue to be infringed upon by societies worldwide. Women's rights are not special extra privileges for women. They are basic human rights that women should be entitled to as human beings. Women's rights movements are fights for the human rights that every woman deserves. Some basic rights that are often stripped from innocent women include the right to life and freedom, the right to live free from violence and discrimination, the right to physical and mental health care, the right to education, the right to be able to own property, and multiple political rights, most notably, the right to vote. To understand what to do next, we must first look back at the state of women's rights in the past. Historically, women have had far less rights and freedoms than men, including the right to vote, the right to life and safety, the right to live free of discrimination. For example, women in the United States didn't have the right to vote or own property without a husband until the early 1900s. The United States, the land of the free and the mother of democracy, didn't allot the basic human rights of freedom and decency to half its population, its female half, until well over a century after its creation. However, through global women's suffrage movements throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, over 99% of countries worldwide granted women the right to vote and more freedom as individuals by the 2000s. But, unfortunately, now women's rights in some parts of the world are worse than they've ever been. The most notable example of this is the women's rights crisis that has been occurring in Afghanistan for over a decade now. Since the Taliban took control of Afghanistan, women have been subjugated to the slow stripping of their rights and dignities. Women have completely lost their right to education and healthcare. They are allowed to vote legally, but exercising this right can be dangerous and even a deadly mistake for the women of Afghanistan. They have been stripped of their rights to freedom of expression, forced to wear extremely restrictive clothing, and are forced into extreme laws. Some of these restrictive, controlling laws include banning women from public spaces, disallowing women from even looking at men directly, and banning windows from areas that they may be. Currently, many animals possess more rights to life, dignity, and freedom than the women of Afghan do. The women of Afghanistan are disallowed from receiving medical health care from male doctors. However, the women of Afghanistan are also disallowed from pursuing an education, including becoming doctors. This combination of laws effectively disallows all women of Afghanistan from receiving any kind of medical care from hospitals. However, women's rights issues are not contained to just Afghanistan. Women worldwide face issues such as extremely disproportionate levels of gender-based violence, including sexual, physical, and domestic harassment and assault. In fact, around 30% of women who have been in relationships have experienced sexual abuse or assault, many of which live the rest of their lives without ever receiving the justice they deserve. The current state of women's rights is far from ideal, but with this information, we can plan the next steps in the journey of ending women's rights issues worldwide. Organizations such as UN Women work tirelessly to provide aid, support, and safe places for women worldwide. They set up crisis and refugee camps for women outside of countries like Afghanistan or other countries where women's rights are stripped from them. UN Women also work with governments and global initiatives to provide women with safe places and aid of all sorts after facing physical, domestic, or sexual abuse. UN Women targets ending violence against women. So far, UN Women has conducted field research for information on women's rights topics in countries that need it. They have also helped in the implementation and enforcement of rules created by IGOs and other international powers in countries that do not enforce them themselves. UN Women has also contributed a large amounts of financial and medical aid to countries and women that need them. You can support the cause by signing up to volunteer and become an official UN volunteer by going to the website at www.unv.org/become-volunteer, or by donating through the UN Women website at www.unwomen.org/en/trust funds. You can donate to either the Fund for Gender Equality or the UN Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women.